what an incredible final week of the season for the Dodgers. And of course, guided by the amazing finish to the season of Shohei Ohtani. It gets us so excited for the playoffs to see somebody at this level locked in the way that he is. We're going to dive into the historic nature of this last couple weeks of the Dodgers regular season and what that means for the playoffs moving forward. I'm Ryan Bershinger. She's Monse Bolaños. He is Beau Benson. This is the Sick Podcast, the Dodgers Zone. Let's get into it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. The Dodgers Zone.
At strike three, Dodgers have won it all in 2020.
Fernando Valenzuela has pitched a no-hitter at 10:17 in the evening of June the 29th, 1990. If you have a sombrero, throw it to the sky.
The sickest LA Dodgers podcast. It's gonna be sick.
All right, guys. Shohei Ohtani not only got 50-50, he did it less than 24 hours after we recorded our last show, which I couldn't help but feel, a tiny bit offended by. like God damn it. This is the nature of us.
No.
He did that on purpose.
Yeah. He's like, you know what? I know you guys put something out, but I'm going to make it old instantly and just completely rip apart the Miami Marlins in the process. We left off last time saying that this episode we were going to talk about, is Ohtani's season the greatest season for a Dodger in history? And then he went on to have the greatest week that maybe any player has ever had offensively. And so the answer is yes. And I don't think there's really much more else to discuss from that because of it.
You know how good his season and week was?
Mm-hmm.
I am absolutely stunned that he did not go 6 for 6 yesterday and win the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
I was certain that he would do that.
Yeah.
That's how good he had been at the plate.
He's human after all.
I know. He didn't win the Triple Crown, so now he can't get the MVP. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it has been such a crazy season because he got better. I can't get over it. You just watch him and you're like, man, he's doing great. And then a month later you're like, oh, he's doing greater. And then the next month you're like, he's doing the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
What? It just, I honestly did not expect this. We knew he was going to be good, but I am just so impressed how every month he extended how good he was offensively, whether it was another stolen base. Cause he didn't get caught many times. That's another thing that they're not talking about when it comes to his base stealing. He hardly got caught. Hitting in big moments, reaching 40-40 with a grand slam, then reaching the 50-50, going 6 for 6, 10 RBI. It just was if you gave that script to Hollywood, they would laugh in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It'd be that's not believable.
Yeah.
We need to change it.
No.
Yeah.
They're not real numbers.
I know our dear friend Rob Parker was trying to say that it's Fugazi because of the base size. But I would actually argue that Ohtani's 59 that he finished with is probably more impressive than Acuna last year because Ohtani didn't steal unless he was going to steal and get the base. Whereas Acuna was like, all right, I'm on first. I'm going. Yeah. Don't care. I'm not they're going to throw me out or they're not. Ohtani was very meticulous with how he did it. I think he wasn't caught stealing how many times this year? Single digit?
Yeah. He finished, he had, was it 38, 39 consecutive tries without getting caught?
And it started in August too. So he just decided in August, I'm just going to start stealing bases like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's crazy. The fact that he was just doing this in our backyard for so long, not this, but doing this in Anaheim where nobody knew about it. And now the entire world knows about it. It's just, God, if you're an Angels fan, how sad are you today?
Very sad. But Ohtani, sorry, I got it for you guys. Ohtani stole 59 bases in 63 attempts.
Yeah,
that's insane.
That's really
get out of here. I don't get out of here. That's not an easy thing to do, or else everybody would be doing it. And
Right.
I agree, like the bases are bigger, yes, but here we are. Just like last year, Ronald Acuna Jr. did it, and everybody gave him his flowers. Like that, I feel like we can't use that as an argument anymore. Because unless we're gonna go back to smaller bases, we can't bring that up anymore.
They could.
Right.
Rob Manfred doesn't know what he's doing. They very well could.
So Ohtani finished the season with 54 home runs, 59 stolen bases, going into uncharted territory in terms of blowing away the 40-40 club, creating the 50-50 club, making it 54-54 for good measure. Also, again, as we mentioned as a footnote, like a new Dodger record for home runs, which is amazing. And given the fact that like this isn't a franchise that's only been around for like 20 years, this is one of the most storied historic franchises in baseball. And he came in 1 year and set a franchise record. It's incredible. I think the 400 total bases, I think is actually the most impressive stat, because when you look at it, this hadn't been done since what, 2001?
Yeah.
Or maybe Todd Helton did in 03.
He's up there with all the steroid guys.
Exactly.
Like
That's the crazy thing. We gave Judge his flowers in the middle of the season, saying that what he was doing was more impressive because he was putting up steroid era numbers at a time where it should be impossible to put up those kind of numbers offensively. And then that's what Ohtani ended up with, putting up over 400 total bases when the last guys to do it were people like Barry Bonds when he was roided out of his mind, Luis Gonzalez, like who just went off out of nowhere 1 year, oddly enough, and then Todd Helton, who I love Todd Helton, one of the best hitters that in my lifetime in terms of all around hitters, but he also did play in Colorado for half the time. So all things considered, Ohtani then put up offensive numbers akin to those guys, and that to me, like, you can take out the stolen base. If he had 0 stolen bases this season, he's still the MVP of the National League simply because of what he did offensively. It's really impressive, and it goes beyond just the pure all around like greatness of Ohtani. It has transcended to a point of like, yeah, this is maybe the best player we've ever seen. And he's not even pitching, and he could do all this while he's pitching too. He's rehabbing a surgically repaired elbow. That is amazing, and I can't find more ways to say how amazing he is. That's
and
all.
Remind me here, did he have a slump? Like, okay, you brought up Aaron Judge, who went 15 games without, and we were talking about it, and then Judge comes and hits 5 in a row because it's Judge. He's also great right before our eyes. But did Ohtani have like a slump like that? No, right?
Not
like
really.
All season.
The worst thing with Ohtani was his batting with runners in scoring position earlier in the season.
Right. Yeah.
But he also did say recently, like, as we thought at the time, it's like, I'm so used to being on the Angels where if I don't get it done here, then it's not going to happen. So he had to kind of learn how to trust everybody else in the lineup. And once he did, he just took there was never a point where it's like, damn, Ohtani's really not seeing the ball well right now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And one thing that gets me especially excited is, of course, we are now heading into the postseason, which as a Dodger fan is a miserable experience, to be honest.
Yeah, you said excited. What are you talking about?
But one thing that I can't help but notice, of course, yes, we all know that Ohtani is on an insane tear right now. It's like 20 of 24 at one point. Like it's the numbers that he's put up over the last 2 weeks are just incredible. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. He had a
181 WRC plus this year. Like 181. Like that's my God, dude.
Yeah, no, it's insane. But what I find the most exciting about what Ohtani is doing right now is Shohei Ohtani right now. How do I put this? He is the player in the league with the most games played without a playoff appearance. This is the first time we'll ever see Shohei Ohtani in a playoff game. And I think I'm choosing to believe this. And quite frankly, I think it's logical to believe this. I think the excitement of actually competing in the playoffs is what's driving him at the end of this season. Yes, of course, going to putting up 50-50 was very obviously a goal that he set out for himself, and he was able to attain that. But I think it's also knowing that he can actually compete for a title on a team that's incredibly talented, a team that, by the way, finished the season with the best record in baseball, which is something that we did not really ever feel like this was the team that was going to finish the year with the best record in baseball, and they did it. Which, again, that's a conversation we're going to get to a little bit later because it puts us in a very good position. But I really do believe that the excitement and the draw of actually competing in the postseason is what is driving Ohtani's success right now. And we're going to be able to see that come to fruition in the playoffs. I fully believe that Ohtani's going to continue this tear into the postseason because we haven't seen anything from him to indicate that it's going to slow up. I understand Jason Stewart, the producer of the Doug Gottlieb Show, asked all three of us, like, hey, is it possible he's kind of firing off all of his bullets right now? Like maybe he's getting a little too hot, a little too early, and he's going to cool down in the postseason. And my point to that is, I think that it is the fact that he's getting to the postseason that is fueling him to do this. And so that's why I feel very confident with, especially with this lineup going into the postseason, because you put a Shohei Ohtani who is performing at an elite level into this lineup, they should be able to beat anyone.
That's such a bad way to look at the postseason too. Like he could be emptying all his bullets. He could have a miserable postseason. He could get there and be like, oh wow, the moment's very big. But I don't think he will. We've seen him in the WBC. Like he performed there. Yep. And it's baseball. It's the most random postseason. Nobody expected Chris Sale to wake up this morning and have back spasms, and now he's just done. Yeah. He's just not going to be in the postseason at all. He's going to win the Cy Young probably. But like I wouldn't say that he emptied his clip like pitching well in August. Like you don't know. So there's no point in worrying about Ohtani. Like if you're a Dodgers fan worrying about Ohtani going to the postseason, I would say worry about the guys that went 1 for 21 last year and how they're going to perform. Not Ohtani, because we have no idea. Nobody knows. He's never been there before. Yeah, he's never been there before. We have no idea.
We don't know, but I think it comes because of the history, right? That's why you wonder, like, is Ohtani going to hit the slump like we've seen the Dodgers do when they get to October baseball? So I think it's a natural thing to ask, but I look at Ohtani and I'm like, he is the real deal. And he has had big moments, not in Major League Baseball, but like you said, Ryan, he literally said, I just wanted to get the 50-50 over with. Like his mentality is what is happening coming up these next couple of weeks. He is so focused, which is really nice to see. And like being so focused and yet at the same time having emotion with it, it's like, it's an exciting thing to look forward to. I'm with you guys. Like, I think he is really delivering in a lot of different ways for this team. And I don't expect him to be the one that like doesn't deliver in the postseason.
But that's what I like the most in that Marlins game where he set the right, where he said like after the game was like, I appreciate you everybody. Like I'm joining the 50-50 club. I'm like, no, you founded it.
Yeah.
Like, you're the first person there. But in that series and then in the Padres series, like he wanted to be in those games. He wanted to be in those big games. It's a completely different attitude. Kopech had a completely different attitude. To see him be really fired up to get that game over with. That's what they've been missing in the postseason. So I hope that's infectious and it kind of carries over. But yeah, there's no reason to be worried about Ohtani. Like none whatsoever.
Of course. Let's revisit some of these bigger games over the last week here, because you had obviously the Padres series where Ohtani came up with a couple times, tying the game and getting go-ahead runs, especially in those two games that the Dodgers took from them. Monse and I, we were at the second game there. And it was
my invite got lost in the mail, I guess.
Yeah.
Crazy. I don't know why you guys still use snail mail. That's
and that was awesome, because I think the biggest takeaway I had from the Padres series, as a big picture thing, because there's a lot of specific things we can get into, the weird triple play, obviously. But the Mookie stuff I want to discuss because I thought that was very interesting. But the big takeaway I had from the series as a whole, obviously, one, every time Ohtani comes to the plate, you're like, oh, he's going to get a hit. And it's been a long time since I felt that way about anyone. I remember the 2017 World Series having that fear of dread that feeling of dread every time the top half of the Astros order came up.
Yeah.
Like whenever that lineup would flip, I'm like, oh, these guys are going to get a hit.
Your
And
stomach
of course,
will not.
yeah, it's because they knew what was coming, so of
Yeah,
course they were
crazy.
But Ohtani had that feeling, which was why a big reason why that triple play was extra heartbreaking, because they were getting to Suarez instantly, and you knew that Ohtani was going to come up and either tie the game or win it. It was just like it was obvious. But the big overall takeaway I had from that series was there's so much hand wringing about the pitching staff for the Dodgers. They don't have enough pitching. They don't have enough pitching. They do. Their bullpen is great.
Yeah. Thank you.
When we're talking about having the Dodgers not having enough pitching, they're ignoring the bullpen. The bullpen was phenomenal in that series. To your point, Beau, in terms of Kopech was super fired up to be closing out games. Blake Treinen, David Vassegh talked about this after that Wednesday night, the second game of the series, where Blake Treinen came out after the triple play night, and he told the media, look, I took that personally. I was so bothered by watching those guys celebrate on our field. I hadn't felt that way since the World Series in Game 4 with the Rays. That was the Brett Phillips walk-off game. He said that he took that so personally to heart that he wanted to go out there and get those guys instantly. And Treinen threw arguably the best single inning pitched by any Dodger this season. He faced the heart of the Padres order and shut them down. It was incredible. And so if Treinen can come in with that fire and edge, a veteran who's been around and has won before, why can't all of these guys come with that edge? So I do think that energy is in fact infectious. We are seeing it, especially with the new guys who came in. And we did see Mookie kind of change his mentality late in the series, especially after everyone got on his case for the podcast.
Which I gotta say, I don't disagree with the people that got on his case about that.
Yeah.
I think that's a horrible look.
We all agree.
I don't care if an athlete has a podcast, but you do not post an episode with the team, the rival player that nobody in your fan base cares for. I understand that you guys are all friends outside of the game. That's fine. That's totally okay. No, don't care. But you don't do that. Nobody in the Dodgers fan base ever is like, oh, Fernando Tatis Jr., that guy is a great baseball player. Right. No, but he is a cheater, number one. And number two, he's just a dick. Yeah. So that is such a dumb look from Mookie, especially given that the game had ended on a triple play. I think it came out the day after they won the second game. I'm not sure, but
it was the morning of the third game.
Yeah. So that was just weird awareness from Mookie. But no, I'm so glad. I've been so annoyed all year long now, hearing how the Dodgers lost in the playoffs last year because they don't have any pitching, or they didn't have any pitching. And that's more, it's not what you wanted last year, but there was not a single game that they were outside of game 1 when Kershaw gave up 8 runs in the first inning.
Yeah.
All those other games were winnable. And I feel like a lot of the people in the national media really let Mookie and Freddie off the hook a little bit for their performance, which they shouldn't have. They were awful. That's Mookie and Freddie are the reason the Dodgers got swept last year.
Yeah.
It's inexcusable. It's undeniable. So this year, I think Flaherty, Yamamoto, and Buehler, as bad as Walker has been, if you can't win a playoff game with those three starting, you're probably not going to win a playoff series or a World Series anyway. That should be more than enough in the playoffs. You just need 5 or 6 innings from them of 3-run ball. And if you can't score more than 3 or 4 runs with Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman, that's a you problem. And you deserve every bit of ridicule you get.
Yeah, lot to say with everything you both just said, but I'll keep it quick here. What I liked about the Padres series is that I think they pulled out wins when it wasn't easy. They were down and had to dig deep, get gritty, and get the win, which is what I liked about it. It wasn't that they came out 4-0 and held on to the lead. No, they had to actually dig themselves out of a hole, and I liked that. I did not like Mookie doing this with this podcast, especially because you did not play well against the Padres. Mm-hmm. You did not do anything. But yeah, you want to go talk to your buddy. And again, I don't care that you're friends. I agree with you, Beau. I don't give a shit that you guys are friends off the court, off the field, and that you're going to go bowling together because we know Mookie likes to bowl. I don't care about that. But it's almost so like tone deaf. Like you
Mhm.
you posted now? Why couldn't you have posted it today, right now? Like what?
Off day. Nobody's playing right now. Like, yeah.
Nobody's playing. You're not playing. There's other stuff going on. You couldn't post it today. And like I didn't like their interaction because they said they're like, oh, people calling us out. But it's like it's a brotherhood. We're friends. Nobody is telling you to not be friends. We're just asking you to think twice about the order that you decided to do this in.
Mhm.
Like that's all we are saying. You could have released it today, and maybe you did film it with him during the series. We wouldn't have been as like had a bad taste in the mouth if you would have released it today.
I just cannot imagine like Andre Ethier filming
No,
a video with Buster Posey in
no.
the middle of a series against the Giants that decides who wins the division or not. I just cannot imagine that. And Mookie, like not so much anymore, but he was supposed to be the face of this team going forward. And it's Ohtani, like it's been Ohtani, but like it just doesn't feel like Mookie ever really cared about that, which is fine because that's not for everybody. But it is just like a little disappointing. Like I'm not mad, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
That's the right word, Beau. It is disappointing and somebody that you do want to be locked in and in the zone, but yet here you are still doing this podcast when last year during the postseason, you were also doing your podcast and you also didn't deliver. Like you couldn't put your podcast on hold now.
Yeah.
Like it's time. Put that aside. And I just want you to be focused and locked in. Literally Baker Mayfield saying what he said about Tom Brady. Oh, I think the guys in the locker room were a little bit like tense and like uncomfortable because of the way Brady is. And Brady's like, are we going to Disneyland or are we winning? That is the mentality. You want your leader I want my leader to respond the way Tom Brady did. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were trying to win a championship. Like that's Mookie does not have that. It seems like he doesn't have that. Is it because he's already won? Maybe.
It's possible.
It was a bad look. I fully agree. And my big thing was like you guys couldn't do this in June, you know?
Yeah.
I don't care who you interview literally for 95% of the season. It was just very poor timing, especially given the fact that it was the night after the Wednesday night game in which Mookie's line was he popped out to second, popped out to third, popped out to first, and then completed the cycle by popping out to the shortstop. It was
that cubic zirconium sombrero.
It was like the worst game I've ever seen from him. It was really genuinely bad.
So bad.
But the good thing was, and this is where we do need to give him credit. And at the same time, I think people really chiming in on because I think they did the show live. And so
is that what it is?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And they were
Okay.
responding to live comments where people are like, why are you guys doing this?
Yeah.
And
I can't imagine Padres fans were happy with it either.
I don't think so.
I
Probably
really
not.
can't. Like, but you expect it from Tatis. He's tone deaf.
Yeah.
That whole team is tone deaf. Like,
but Mookie then said when he got to the field that day, he was in the cages until his hands hurt. He was in there for an hour. He was and he had a good game that night.
Yeah.
He had multiple hits. He had a couple big hits. Like he did in fact contribute to that game. So that was great to see because I think Mookie did kind of need a little bit of a kick in the ass there.
well, and you saw he talked to Vassay, right?
A little bit.
Well, he told Vassay basically like he hears it all. And yeah. So
yeah.
Like, congrats,
Yeah,
Dodger fans. You did something positive for once.
I think it worked, and at the same time, like Mookie is fully capable of obviously like being incredibly productive on a daily basis. So I think that his performance in that last game in the Padres series, I think, really should kind of calm everyone down because he did respond. Like he understood that, like, okay, yeah, you know what? Maybe that wasn't the best. He also said at the same time, he's like, of course I want to win. I obviously want to win. This is what I want to do. So, but at the same time, you know, we just wish that we didn't have to question it, right?
Yeah, I hate when pro athletes have to answer that question.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
Especially when you're someone like Mookie Betts on a 13-year, $365 million deal.
Yeah.
Like, that should not ever be a question of wanting to win or not wanting to win. Like, that, that's disappointing.
but yes, let's go back to the Padres series specifically. As I mentioned, the big thing is that I thought the pitching showed up. The pitching wasn't dominant, but except the bullpen was dominant.
Yeah.
I don't think did the bullpen give up a run? Maybe they gave up 1 or 2 in the third game. I think so.
I might have.
But like that was also that game like got out of hand, so it wasn't a big deal. But what I think that's a really major takeaway, seeing especially like Landon Knack, if the Dodgers can't win with Landon Knack giving up 4 runs in 4 innings, then like that's that's my big takeaway. Like if the Dodgers were to lose these games in the postseason like 9-7, then you go, okay, then maybe they ran out of starting pitching. Guys, you kind of ran out of arms there. It is what it is. If they're losing games 4-2 in the postseason, then that's incredibly frustrating. And that's where like change would need to happen. Like that's the big difference that I think we're coming into this postseason with, is that the starting staff should be able to keep them in games, and the bullpen should be able to effectively keep opposing offenses at bay, where that this Dodgers offense is so loaded. And thankfully, knock on wood, coming in fully healthy. Yes, we had that scare with Freddie Freeman, but it sounds like everything's fine. It sounds like he's going to be good.
We'll see.
It looked freaky, and he was on a boot in the during the celebration, but like of course he would be.
Of course he is. Yeah.
Yeah, like
so stupid.
The game. They probably would have put him in a wheelchair if they could have.
Yeah.
Like, they just put full on bubble wrap around him.
The Dodgers bullpen gave up 1 run in that series.
Yeah.
I believe it was the homer to Tatis, right? Or maybe not even that, but
right.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. We got to see the debut of Edgardo Enriquez, which I thought was very exciting. He definitely has very strong stuff, and I haven't like wrote out the names that I figure would be on the postseason roster in terms of the bullpen, but I think Brusdar Graterol's injury does open a door for somebody like Enriquez, because quite frankly, I'd rather have him than Joe Kelly. I understand there's a lot of.
I'd rather have you than Joe Kelly.
Kelly, of course,
you pumping 64 is probably the same as Joe Kelly.
The postseason experience does matter, but his control just hasn't really been there for quite some time now. That it would be kind of scary, and he's also the exact sort of person that Dave would go to first out of the bullpen. Like,
he's the new Pedro Baez.
Yeah.
At this point, Joe Kelly is there because of the past, not because you're thinking he's going to do something. Yeah. Based on recent.
The past isn't even special.
It's not. It's just like you feel comfortable.
People talk. Yeah, it's like he's fucking goddamn Mariano Rivera.
Right.
And
no.
It's just like no.
Even Kenley Jensen. Even Joe Kelly. Like you're holding on to something from the past, but I don't know what it is, and I don't know if it's just comfort. Like I don't know, but Joe Kelly, I would not rely on you right now. I wouldn't.
No, there's no way.
But outside of that, I mean, the bullpen has really been phenomenal. And a special shout out to Walker Buehler. And as we've talked about, like, yes, it has been a weird season for Buehler, but we can view that start against the Padres as, in essence, a playoff game.
Yeah.
Given the stakes of that game, he came in there and he performed. Like, he wasn't, again, we're not seeing the, pumping 99 and getting 10 strikeouts over 7 Walker Buehler, but 5 innings of 1-run ball from Walker Buehler right now is great.
Perfect.
That's fine. You'll take it.
Yeah.
The frustrating thing with Buehler is that all year it's felt like he's 1 start away. Mm-hmm. And then that start comes and it's like, all right, he's still 1 start away.
Yeah.
So really just hoping that this time is the 1 start away.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So that's I think that was a big thing, is just I feel really good about the state of the staff, because the offense over top to bottom has been excellent.
Yeah.
Even the deeper guys in the lineup, again, we've talked about like Tommy Edman and how much of a spark plug he's been offensively.
They need to sign him to a longer deal in the offseason.
Yeah.
He
because he's under contract next season as well.
Yeah, he is, but he's the exact super utility guy that they've been looking for forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gavin Lux had some good at bats over the last week as well, which is very nice to see. Teoscar Hernandez got a new career high in homers. Beautiful. We love it.
I will miss you, Teoscar.
Yeah, I know. Now I'm like, I don't know how we can keep him also.
He is going to get a fat contract from the San Francisco Giants in the offseason. Yeah. You can mark that one down. We'll return to this podcast in about 6 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is now.
Yeah.
And you'll see that, unfortunately.
Great. Let's because I want to mention, Miguel Rojas is the only one who's also a little banged up coming into the playoffs here. And in terms of just how valuable he has been throughout the season, what he does defensively at shortstop. I did find it interesting that once Rojas went down with injury, yes, we move Edman to shortstop, and then our defensive specialist, Kevin Kiermaier, still doesn't get to play.
Well,
they just had
he got hurt, didn't he?
I think so.
Dislocated something, or
that's right. Truthfully, I did not pay much attention to the Rocky series. I saw what happened at the end of every game. But I mean, what
they locked up the NL West, and I tuned out.
Yeah, for sure.
There was a lot of football over the weekend.
I didn't even really care about them getting the top seed. Just that one Phillies guy to laugh at him. I did. Before we get too far away from it, the Padres series was such a greater reflection, I think, on the season as a whole. Because thinking back to it, it does kind of seem like, as miserable as this year was at times, given everything that happened in terms of the gambling and the copious amount of injuries and just the pitching issues, it did feel like, looking back, that every big pivotal series they showed up for. Yeah. Like that Braves series earlier in the year. I think there was a Brewers series where they at least they swept them or took 2 of 3, or split. I know in Milwaukee they split when they really needed to. The D-back series coming out of the All-Star break, I believe it was. But and this Padres series, but every big series that they needed to win and make a statement or keep themselves alive for something or keep themselves afloat, it looked like it seems like they did respond and win those games and win those series. So that does make me feel better about the postseason. But also, I do just want to remind people that the MLB postseason is probably the most random sport alive that gets played. It's awful. It's terrible. Yeah. So all things considered, this was a pretty good Dodgers season. You got to watch Shohei Ohtani play for your team. Yeah. I think you should keep that in mind if they inevitably lose in the playoffs. Because we're gonna get to October, and we're all gonna be sitting here being like, how did the fucking Tigers win the World Series?
Yes.
People are gonna
sell at the deadline is now in
the it's just how baseball is, man. Yeah. You just have to enjoy it while it's here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I wish we would not have gotten the number 1 seed. But I feel like teams were playing chess and actually maybe secretly wanted the Dodgers to get the number 1 seed and have a week off.
The Phillies definitely threw their.
Really though. Yeah,
karma will not reward them for that.
I agree.
But yeah, they definitely threw those games.
Yeah, I it's just because of the past couple of years where it's really hard to replicate a game, even if you have a simulated game going on. It's really, really hard, and so I don't know what approach the Dodgers are having. They apparently are going to have a watch party and watch the wild card games together, and they're going to, come in and definitely practice and whatnot. But it is a momentum that you have to find a way to keep when you're not playing, and that's hard. That's just hard. And then you got the stupid Padres that are going to play. It's I really do think there was chess going on with these teams here at the end.
You just have to hope that somehow the Braves force the Padres to use their relievers.
Yeah.
That's the hope there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the hope is that they tire each other out. that none of these games are easy for anybody. That they're all going to go down to the last inning and that you are having to dig deep, like all ends of it. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, it is. And we'll have to judge it in hindsight yet again in terms of this discussion as to whether or not the first round bye is in fact an advantage.
Who's the top seed in the AL? Is it the Yankees?
I think it's the Yankees. I'll tell you right now.
I think it's the Yankees. I look forward to them losing to the. It is the Yankees.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Astros smoking the Yankees is gonna be so funny. Not really, but it's gonna be funny.
Yeah. No, but the point to that is if you're going to get the first round bye, then get the 1 seed, because it's only the division series where it can like debatably be a hindrance in terms of, having that week off, what that does in terms of momentum, what that does for the bats and getting up every day and in terms of like ramping up offensively again, as we've seen that was an issue the last two postseasons. But if we get through the division series, it is a huge advantage to have home field in both the championship series and the World Series. And I do understand, like, there's a part of me that's like, well, having that, being able to play every day and still getting the offense moving every day, you're able to carry that momentum. But also the thought of playing a 3-game series, winner take all, is just, it's terrifying. Like,
that's
stupid.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So that's like, it should be an advantage to not have to play in that round. Again, I understand, like, history has not indicated that over these last 2 seasons, but and that's a league-wide thing. It's not just the Dodgers. It's, we've had, it was either this postseason or last where like 3 of the 4 that had a first round bye got eliminated right away. So we'll see. Like, hopefully it's not an issue. And I do believe, again, this is different. Like, having Ohtani in this lineup is different. This is where, like, I fully believe he will not be phased by a week off offensively. And when you have that sort of presence at the top of the lineup and you're getting that guy on constantly, that's contagious. Like, that level of offensive production is contagious throughout the lineup. And again, we're at a spot where 1 through 9, the lineup is in very good shape. I do want to just talk a little bit about the triple play because I think there is an important point to be made there. Of course, the situation was first and second, no outs, Miguel Rojas up, Ohtani up after him. And as it was mentioned on the broadcast, like, Suarez has been struggling at closing games recently, and he was instantly struggling again. And it looked like at the start of that Rojas at bat, I said, "Oh, the Dodgers are winning this game. This is great." Like, this is because Ohtani's going to come up and he's at least going to tie it or walk it off. Yeah. Rojas tries to get the bunt down. He doesn't get it down. It's called off by someone somewhere, and then he hits it to Manny Machado, who's standing in the exact spot that he needed to be standing in to make it happen, because we know if Manny was an inch to the left or an inch to the right, he does not move fast enough to be able to make those things happen. So he happened to be standing in the very spot where he had to put in minimal effort, and he could get a triple play and run off as a hero. But I think the issue here was, this is where we talk about, like, Dave's biggest issue is he ignores analytics and he goes off of feel. And I don't even know what was guiding him to this decision, because both of those say that was the wrong move. Like, but that's I'm happy I didn't hear anybody try to make the argument of, like, well, analytics say don't bunt ever, and that's not true. That's not true. Analytics say don't give up outs, and typically bunts are giving up outs. But in that situation, that is it's also, analytics also say avoid the most possible outs. So if you're bunt, his explanation after the game was he didn't want to bunt into an out. no, you 100% do, especially when Shohei Ohtani is up next.
There were
That's
two
common sense.
There were two people in that stadium that night that thought that Miguel Rojas was Barry Bonds, Dave Roberts and Miguel Rojas. So that's the explanation for that one.
So that's my concern. Like that was one moment where I'm like, this is genuinely like one of the worst decisions Davis ever made.
No,
no school of thought indicates that they should do it that way.
And sometimes too, like I don't get the ire towards guys. Like sometimes these are professional athletes, right? Like I like Mookie likes to say, like they drive nice cars too. But like Manny Machado is the best defensive infielder, I think, of our generation.
Oh yeah.
So sometimes guys just make plays. Like sometimes you just get got. Like that just happens. There's nothing you could do. The day after, once they clinch the division, I think you can go back and look at that and be like, "Fuck, that was crazy."
It was a freak play. It was a freak play.
And
Machado.
To Dave and Miguel's credit, like that play happens 0.00001% of the time.
Yes.
This was just the time it happened. And you could have done way more to avoid it. But ultimately it didn't bite them in the ass. So I haven't thought about it since then, but I will think about it when Dave does something stupid in the playoffs inevitably. So
that's the level of concern. Yes, of course, like Machado is an incredible defensive third baseman. I just, he's also a lazy piece of shit, and I just like to pile him on for the.
Well, not anymore. Apparently, he's not anymore. Apparently, he's a leader in the clubhouse, and he has turned a new leaf all since he joined the Padres. Apparently,
incredible.
He held Tatis's butt cheek while he put that needle in there. That's the kind of guy he is.
Oh God. Well, speaking of the Padres, the Dodgers may see them again, or they will get the Atlanta Braves. And given the fact that, if you want to talk about the Dodgers losing pitchers at a bad time, yes, here are the Atlanta Braves. So, no Chris Sale for them, apparently. And that's a team where, like, maybe, I guess we can now make the argument that actually the Braves have had it worse with injuries than we have. I think we can now say that, given they lost last year's MVP. They lost a Cy Young front runner. It was a Cy Young favorite prior to the season in Spencer Strider. And now they lose the guy who was going to win the Cy Young this season in Chris Sale. So, I mean, that's tough. If they were the Pirates, I'd feel bad for them. If they were like, if they weren't a franchise that also has experienced a ton of success, I would feel bad for them. But I hope they beat the Padres. I would rather face the Braves than the Padres, but thankfully we just saw that the Dodgers can in fact beat the Padres in the series. And
I've seen a lot of like, the Padres are scorching hot, and I'm like, by what metric? Like, what's the cutoff there?
I win since the All-Star.
Like, we're talking about the second half, then sure, the Padres are scorching hot. So are the Dodgers.
Yeah,
the Dodgers are second on that list.
Yeah.
So like, what? Yeah, I have no expectations for the postseason. I've learned my lesson. Like, whatever happens. But people counting out the Dodgers, I don't know, man. No one's good this year. Flat out, like, no one is good. Everybody has a weakness. Yeah, like no one's blowing anybody away. Like, I'm sorry. Like anyone that says they know who's going to win the World Series is lying to you. You should not take their advice.
I want to finish this off by giving a special shout out to Chris Taylor, because Chris Taylor homered in the final game of the season.
Taylor. That's
to increase his home run total to 4 and to put his final batting average above 200. Good job. Hell yeah, CT3. 4 home runs this season. Yeah.
Hey, he can hit 4 home runs in the playoffs.
That's right.
What counts. Yeah. That's what counts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
And he can do that. He can.
Bang starts the World Series.
So the Dodgers will roll out Yamamoto, Jack Flaherty, Walker Buehler, and that's a sweep right there. We don't even need to have Landon Knack take them out. It's but good on
Landon Knack. What are the chances that Tony Gonsolin makes a playoff start?
he hasn't been rolled out completely. He's just been rolled out for this starting one, right? For the divisional series, not for the
postseason.
Like, I don't think he's completely been rolled out. I think it's really slim, but
we're gonna see Tony Gonsolin at some point.
I think we would see him. Yes.
I'd put money on that. We're gonna see Tony Gonsolin at some point.
Do you guys think it's gonna be Jack or Yoshinobu first?
Flaherty. It's gonna be Flaherty.
It should be. It should be.
I think Dave has said as much, but it just makes more sense.
Okay.
What did the Days line up for Yoshi? Because that matters.
That's the thing. I think it's been mentioned that they're only going to have Yamamoto once in the divisional series.
Yeah. Okay. So then you kind of have to do Flaherty in game 1.
Yeah.
And then which have Yamamoto game 2.
That's an entirely different conversation, but they got to find a workaround for that next year. I can't be paying this guy $300 million and only have him one time in a postseason series.
Yeah. That's something where next season they will work on getting. I obviously I think the injury kind of really messed up him adjusting to the schedule of the majors. But also at the same time, next year we're probably going to a 6-man staff anyway. Yeah. So that's
Lance Lynn, you are a Dodger again.
Yeah. They'll have 14 different starters anyway next year, so it doesn't really matter. We'll say 6-man rotation, and then they're down to 5 by mid-April. So that's how it goes anyway.
That's right.
Okay. Final thoughts. I think overall, Beau, as you mentioned, I hope people can at least look back on this regular season and really appreciate it because of the fact that what we got to witness with Shohei Ohtani alone is pretty incredible. That's
you can argue that you got the value of his contract in 1 year.
Yeah.
Like it's insane.
Yeah.
No, it's very exciting. So now we get to the bane of my existence, which is the Major League Baseball postseason. God. I don't think we're gonna do any live stuff during or after games because
you couldn't handle it. Yeah, you couldn't handle it. Monse, I don't know if you've met Playoff Bershinger yet, but it is a treat.
I'm possessed.
Yeah.
I see it a little bit because of football. So
we should do a live stream that is just a camera on you watching the game though. I would tune into that.
It's really bad. I'm not proud of it. But I don't know how to explain it to people, but I just I get up and walk around a lot. I start almost doing aerobics. I
that is true.
This is accurate.
That's all confirmed. I can confirm that with my own eyes.
Yeah. A lot of muttering, I
think Bursch and I were in the building for the Game 5 of the 2019 NLDS. I think we were both in the building for that one. That was a great one.
Yeah. I picked up a trash can in the studio. Now we can't drink it. That don't run.
Yeah.
It's
many more moments like that coming, folks.
Well, all right. Well,
actually, if it makes you and the listeners feel better, I feel more calm about this Dodgers postseason than I have previously.
That's true. I kind of do too.
The worst that could happen is they lose, and they've done that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And I think, Beau, I think you said the right thing where it's like, who knows what's going to happen? But in reality, coming out in first in the NL after the season we've had almost is even more satisfying.
Yeah.
I did not think that they were going to end up with the best record in the National League, let alone in baseball.
I was fully prepared for them to be playing tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a little bit sweeter that we are in this position because of the ups and downs that happen in the season. And I feel like we can't forget that. We cannot forget how the Dodgers pull this one off.
Yeah. No, it is really remarkable. The fact that
it is.
It's actually very impressive.
Like,
and I imagine like people like look at Dodger fans and laugh when they like express any sort of frustration or anger over the state of the team, and they're like, "This is really like you guys have it so good. We do have it really good.
We do.
We could be doing a Twins podcast right now. Count your fucking blessings, man.
Oh, poor guys.
Somebody needs to study what happened there. The Tigers had a 0.02% of getting into the postseason after the All-Star break.
The Tigers have been 30-11 since August 1st or something like that. It's don't be shocked. I'm telling you, don't be shocked if they somehow are in the World Series.
Yeah.
They have everything you need to be a weird random October World Series team.
Yeah.
Last year's Diamondbacks. Yeah. The Detroit Tigers could be in the World Series. No joke.
That'd be so weird because they it'd
be so weird.
They're playing incredibly well, but like that roster, like they're not. They're not that loaded. Like I don't know.
The worst thing for the Tigers' chances is playing the Astros in the opening round. Like that'd be tough. If they got someone if they had gotten Baltimore, I would feel way better about their chances than I do about them playing the Astros.
It's pretty wild. I mean, Tark Skubal obviously is fantastic, and like in their lineup, Riley Green's great, but like, man, like it's just it's a lot of just guys. I mean, literally Zach McKinstry and Trey Sweeney are playing for them.
I know.
Like that's the left side of their infield.
I'm literally looking at their roster right now, and I'm like,
Maybe Jack Flaherty. Yeah, exactly. Jack was just such a clubhouse cancer, and that's why. The second they traded him, 30-11, like that's the hell, Jack. You're just holding them back. Anyway, he's our game one starter, and I feel great about it. So I'm very happy. All right. So my name's Ryan Bershinger. Follow me on Twitter at Ryan Bershinger. Monse, tell them where they can follow you.
At Monse Bolaños across social media.
And Beau.
I'd rather you spell it out, to be honest with you. It's at Beau, not Jackson. But you spell Beau correctly.
Beau.
There you go. You did it.
Very good.
Yay.
I did it. All right. This is the Sick Podcast, the Dodgers Zone. Be sure to follow the podcast. We're going to be traveling with you through this postseason. Hopefully it's a deep run, and hopefully we don't just do like one more. So we'll see what happens. But we feel good about it. Famous last words.
Exactly.
Follow us on Twitter at SickPodDodgers, and be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube.
I think that's what the Donner Party said before they set out for their.
I feel good about it. There's some clouds out there. I feel good about it. Follow Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us anywhere. So until next time, let's get this party started, boys. Let's go. This is the Sick Podcast, the Dodger Zone. Domo arigato, everyone. Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, the Dodger Zone, on YouTube, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.